Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining me in my shop here. It's December 12th, 2023, and I have in front of me a half torn apart record player from yesterday's efforts. And you know, I forgot to do something here that I should have done earlier on, and that is find out if the cartridge works. I was kind of hoping the amplifier would do that for me, but apparently the amplifier's got no amp in it. Amping. So I want to find out, does this cartridge work? If it doesn't work, that's it for this record player. And I would apologize for having posted any video on it if I'm going to abandon this. But maybe I'm not, so I'm going to set things up so we can check the cartridge right away. I'm going to take a feed off of here, feed it into my audio system that you're listening to me through, and we'll see what happens when I scratch the needle. Okay, let's give this a try. So these leads now lead to an audio input on the system you're listening to me with. Okay, that's me turning up and down the volume. We're going to pull off. Pull them both off here. Okay, let's put this on. Okay, I'll turn it up. Ooh, major hummer. Okay, what can we hear with this? Nothing but the hum is too much. Let's try these the other way around. Oh. See if that's any better hum-wise. A lot better. A lot better. Huh. Okay, well, I can hear that. Not very strong, but it's there. It's not very strong at all. Just a sec. Oh, I've got all volumes turned up full too. Wow, so that could be very, very, very weak. It's hard to tell. Either I mean, it does produce some amount of signal. It's not completely dead. But I don't know if it's enough. Okay, so if it had shown up to be dead, if I couldn't get any response out of this, I convinced myself the cartridge was bad. That would be it for this project. But here's the cartridge is okay, or at least capable of making some sounds. And I'm left with this amplifier here. Oh my gosh. I'm really not sure how to approach this. Maybe trying to find didn't I see a schematic for this? I saw something for this. I don't know if it was a schematic. Large instruction sheet. Of course, I'm not going to put a schematic on something like this. It's an amazingly long instruction sheet for such a simple record player. It's actually a record changer. That's the proper term for it. We call them record players in North America. But this style, which can drop records, is properly called a record changer. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm going to stop just for a minute and consider my options and maybe drink some coffee. Yeah. Very difficult for me to decide what to do with this. You have to think fairly realistically. I'm not that experienced at dealing with the little transistor amplifiers, and although I may have replacement parts if a transistor in here is blown, what a hassle trying to find it. I have an unsorted collection of transistors. Yeah, I think my best move with this record player is to forget about the amplifier. That'll be somebody else's problem down the road. And get it to operate mechanically, because it's so close to operating properly mechanically. And send it on its way with a note saying the amplifier needs work. But I think if I can make the mechanics work, we're better off. The cartridge, I don't know how strong that is. Typically, a cartridge like that, this is just a ceramic cartridge here, should produce about a volt, and that should have produced a pretty loud result when I tested it, but it didn't. It produced a very, very weak result. That's the impression I got. So I think even if I fix the amplifier, the cartridge is shot. It's too much. I think it's just too much. So let's make the mechanism work. I think it's virtually there. Now, it wouldn't drop a record. Why not? This is moving fine. You can see it moving up there. So there is something pushing on this when the time is right. Must be up above here where we can't really see it. And so I'm just checking to make sure things move nicely. They sure seem to. This is probably the on-off switch here, and this is probably the switch lever. Ooh. Isn't that a weird? No, you know what? That's a spring loading on the intermediate wheel here. And of course, when the unit shuts off, the big clunking sound that we hear is this mechanical operation here, which should leave the wheel kind of loose here and not in heavy contact with the spindle, which it's proper. You don't know what it's supposed to do. What was it? I was moving the arm was extremely. It was very hard to move the arm, and the needle was skipping. Let's look into that. So these are tricky guys. Some of them have slipping kind of clutches in them, so you can do this kind of thing, what I'm doing right now, and not ruin the mechanism. It's not something you want to start throwing oil and grease into right away. I think that's a mistake. Everything seems pretty good, actually. Although that's an odd guy. This piece here, very loose piece of metal. Look at. So this is designed to be moved very easily because the tone arm is going to move it. The tone arm is going to push this piece back. And you have some trouble seeing it there, but there's a metal piece here. Sometimes this can be sticky, and then the tone arm won't come over properly, but usually that only occurs in the last, say, third of the travel. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at this shaft down here that is turning. It's the shaft that runs straight up into the bottom of the tone arm, and I'm looking at, well, why is this so stiff here? It's possible the record player is in a certain state that's doing that. Maybe it's normal because it's not really in the off state. So I look in, okay, I can see the split is in the split on the gear is right in the right position. So the unit is off, in the off position. This should be, I think, loosey-goosey, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Okay, checking the rubber here. Ooh, lots of traction. So I'm just dragging my nail on the edge of the rubber. and I can feel if it's rubbery or if it's gone hard. That's really very rubbery. It's surprising, in fact. Let's put the platter in and play this guy and watch the operation again. There's that braking process. Okay. Plug it in. No, let me do it by hand. Let's come over. It's doing the 12-inch, which is where it's set. Now it should be totally loose. You can see it's not. It's not loose. I think this should just be free to move at this point, but it's not. Free to move. So I'm asking myself now, okay, what is there that can restrict its movement? There's a lot of mechanical components moving down there. The shaft, there's really like a bottom bearing down here. It's hard to believe it could be that much. But I don't know what else it could be. So shaft comes down, meets up this little spot here, and I think somewhere right in there we need a bit of lubrication. There's some grease in there, it's dried up. I'm going to get a little WD-40. Hopefully that'll kind of loosen it up a bit. What other thing can be doing that? Let's put the close-up camera in there and take a good look at it. Make sure I'm getting the right story here. So I'm going to need to just bear with me a minute while I deal with the focus on this camera. Why don't you do that ahead of time before you start the video? Lack of brain cells. Okay, I'm going to take this now and look down in here. Now what I want to do is I'm going to move the tone arm. Where's the tone arm? Here it is. And we want to look. Well, you may have noticed a sudden end there. That was due to a computer problem, and I didn't notice it for a couple of minutes. I continued working away without anything being recorded, but now I've sorted it all out, and we can continue. So I was looking for the binding point in the, what I assume, the binding point on the shaft that the tone arm is rotating on. And I had finished lubricating the bottom point, the bottom where the shaft meets the record player deck. And I had, this part didn't get on video, looked up higher on the shaft and determined that lubrication would be useful right up here. And right in here. Now the WD-40 is a little bit temporary kind of thing. I'm sure this should be flopping around. It's really not. So if the record groove has to drag the needle against this kind of drag, it's not going to happen. Just going to sit in one spot and skip because there's just way too much here. And I'm not hitting the mark. As I mentioned before, there are clutches in these. Sort of to allow you to overextend things or move things, because you can put your hand on this and move it, and the mechanism below has to be able to tolerate anything people might do to it. But I don't see what's going on here. How can this still be stiff? Okay, let's put the close-up camera to it again. Yeah, my feelings about this record player are going downhill all the time. So I've done this bottom part down here. Hard to see here. Let me just fix this up. A little more light. So that surface there. Get my hand in the way of the light. See all the lubrication moving around down there. And the only other thing, unless there's something much higher up that I didn't see, I can't see much higher up than that. What could be up there? There can't really be anything up there. See the lubrication coming right through. Lubricated all these contact points. Is that gear driving something? I don't think so. I don't see anything's mechanically connected, and nothing should be connected to this tone arm when it's out in its travels on the record. It should just be as free as can be, but this one, not happening. And the whole time I've been doing this, it really hasn't gotten much looser. Maybe I think it is a little bit looser. Is there another bearing up higher? I don't think so. There is another bearing, right down under there. I think that's the same one I was looking at, but this way. Oh, maybe not. Okay, another bearing. Okay, let me just switch cameras here. Another bearing. Okay, there's a risk I'm going to get oil where it really shouldn't go. Where did I see that? Right in there. It's really not loosening up. See, it should just drop. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do here? You don't want you as a viewer to be watching something that's just going nowhere. This is going nowhere though, and you're watching it. Let's run this puppy. See what it does. Maybe I once again am chasing smoke. I tend to do that from time to time. Yeah, on these videos, by the way, I'm not aiming to get everything perfect by any means. I'm not one of those people who's caught up in perfection. I'm an 80% guy. So if you're watching me do stuff and looks like I'm being a little lackadaisical at times, it's probably because of a choice I'm making. And not to be too concerned, okay? The world is not coming to an end if this record player never works again. Oh, that's terrible what I just said. Okay, here we go. So it's in the middle of an operation. And maybe that's why I've been struggling with it. Let's get it to do its own thing here. Do your own thing. Okay, it's going to come back over. See, there. Usually there's quite a release click like that. But no, this is not released. This is still bound to something. Look at that. I mean, it all works good. Well, yeah, it's working quite good here. I didn't see any hesitation in the... Except this is never going to play a record. There's just no hope. What am I not getting here? Not fast enough. Should shut off this time. What could be binding this? How can I identify it? I've lubricated everything that's pinching that shaft. It's a very, very consistent resistance. I mean, it feels like a clutch. That's what it feels like. A clutch would be a couple plates pushed together, something like that. Well, this is not going well at all. Guess what I'm worried about is that the part of the record player is stuck in a state which is causing this drag that I'm experiencing on here. There we go. Something maybe is being dragged along that shouldn't be going with it. Like maybe this big piece here shouldn't be traveling with the arm. Wow. No, there's no hope of that happening. Okay, another bearing surface. No? No, it's not a bearing surface. There's a number of springs in here applying pressure to things, and that would give this slip clutchy feel. that it seems to have. Is that supposed to release or something? And the release is not happening. I cannot see it at all. What am I missing? Right up at the very, very top. No, that's turning the whole shaft. Maybe it's not supposed to turn the shaft. Maybe it's supposed to run free up here. And I don't know how that would. So I wish I could flip this right up. Could be a release thing here. I don't think so. Well, what I gotta do is I gotta stop. I don't know how to fix this problem. Oh boy. So one of the things I try to avoid, and it doesn't happen often, is posting videos that go nowhere. I mean, I've probably not posted 5 things over the last 10 years. I mean, hardly anything. Because usually what happens is I start, as you know, I make videos, I get 4 or 5 videos into it, and then if trouble starts up, well, what can I do? I can't go back and erase the 4 or 5 videos that people have watched. It's kind of where I am here on the second video. I hate walking away from things like this. Now there may be, you may know exactly what it is I am not succeeding in doing. I don't know. Stop for a bit. Oh, this is not going to work out. Well, I had a discussion with my coffee cup just now, and the coffee cup said, Jim, cut your losses here. You're not going to get this guy fixed up enough to claim it works. It's not going to happen. Even if I got some of the major problems solved, the cartridge appears to be very, very weak. So I'm going to abide by what my coffee cup has told me, and I'm going to cut my losses on this guy here. This record player doesn't belong to an individual. It belongs to a retailer, a second time around retailer. He's picked it up, at a flea market or something of that sort, and paid, $5 for it or something. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. And he's probably hoping to sell it for $50 or $75 working. It's not going to happen. So that's the story with this guy. I think he's heading for the dump. Although I don't know what the retailer may do. He may try to sell it, as is. Give me $5 and get his $5 back. The interesting thing is the mechanics seem to be pretty good. It's just this sticky tone arm and then the electronic problem with the transistorized amplifier, which, I should really stick to my bailiwick, which is tube equipment. So I gave it a good shot, but I'm afraid I am defeated by this guy here. Closing the lid on that. Sorry about posting things that don't work out, but this is, I'm not making this stuff up here in my shop. When you watch me work, it's absolutely real. Nothing, there's no forethought in it. Whoa, shouldn't say that. But thanks a lot anyway. I'll get something a little more interesting in here that I'm pretty sure I can make it all the way through. Don't know what that is now. See ya. Thanks for watching.